Good evening. This is Gerald Weston for Tomorrow's World. I woke up this morning, as many of you did, to the news that Russia had launched a full-scale attack against the Ukraine. Now, this was not a big surprise. I think that most of us could see that this was going to happen. But nevertheless, it's still shocking because we have not, most of us, lived during a time when there's been a full war such as this, on this scale, on the European continent. We've seen wars in the Middle East, in Asia, but not on the European continent. And what is frightening about it is that the European continent, for some reason, has a way of bringing the whole world into their battles. World War I. It was called World War for a reason. And then there was World War II, when 40 to 70 million lives were lost. People from all over the world were involved in that conflict, and there's hardly a part of the world that was not touched by it. So what's going to happen this time around? Is this the beginning of World War III? Well, we don't know for sure. We do know that there is coming a tremendous conflict at the end of the age, according to Bible prophecy. That we know. It does seem too early for that there are other factors that have to be played out, other things that have to come together. First of all, we recognize that 10 nations in Europe, and that is interesting that is the focal point of it, but 10 nations in Europe will give their power over to an individual called the Beast. This will be the Beast power, and that has not risen yet. But this attack against Ukraine is waking up the Europeans, and it very well may wake them up to the point where they decide they're going to have to do something. That remains to be seen. But there are a lot of things that you and I have to worry about right now. And again, some of these things are going to take some time. But what would happen if, in retaliation for sanctions, a cyber war breaks out between Russia and the Western world? That's a real possibility. And so what should we do about it? Well, you and I can't solve the problem, but what we can do is take care of ourselves. Proverbs, the 22nd chapter and verse 3 says, "The prudent man foresees evil and hides himself, but the simple pass on and are punished." Right now is a good time to take some prudent measures. For example, banking could be shut down. The power grid could be shut down. The water supply could be cut off. Any number of things could happen. Gasoline could be cut off, as the Colonial Pipeline was, and that was a bit of an inconvenience, and that's about it for most of us living in the Southeast. But nevertheless, it could be something on a much greater scale. We need to realize that everything that works on the internet or electronically can be hacked and probably is already penetrated, and it's just a matter of flipping the switch, so to speak. And every nation takes part in probing its enemies' weaknesses in cyberspace. And so these are things that are very real and could happen at any moment. So what does the prudent man do? Well, it might not be a bad idea to take a little bit of cash out of the bank. I remember back in 2004, the great Northeastern blackout. I was in Toronto at the time. We were out of electricity for about 28 hours. There were others who were out of electricity for nearly a week. And I had a big trip coming up, and I went down to a gas station that was open. One had just opened up about 24 hours into the blackout. And I got in line, a long line, and I just prayed that they wouldn't run out of gas before I got there. But when I got there, there was another issue, and that was that the whole internet system had been broken down. The gas station was open, the pumps were pumping, but credit cards were not in use. And I know that there are a lot of people today that do everything online, everything with the smartphone, and almost pride themselves on not carrying any cash. Well, I learned a lesson that day, and ever since then I've decided that it's a good idea to have a little bit of cash on hand. You might want to hide some under the mattress, you might say, but it's a good idea to have something just in case. some sort of a temporary emergency comes up, and it very well could. It's also a good idea because of hurricanes, tornadoes, and other natural disasters. But in the case of the war that's taking place in Europe, it would really be a smart thing to do to have a little bit of cash. It would also be good to have a little bit of fresh water supply on hand, also at least a week's supply of food and other resources you might need, maybe batteries. You can figure it out, you can think it through. But a prudent man foresees evil and hides himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. That's a good lesson for all of us. This is Gerald Weston for Tomorrow's World, February the 26th, 2022. Stay safe, be prudent, and have a wonderful day.